Good morning. Today we are going to work on solving word problems that use addition and subtraction of fractions. They really aren't that hard. Let's look at reading the problem first. Scott and Charmaine are filling the class raised garden bed with soil. Scott shovels in 2/3 of a cubic yard and Charmaine shovels in 1/5 and 5/6 cubic yards. How much soil did they put into the garden all together? So the thing that we have to do is remember our steps in problem solving. The first step is to understand the problem. When we want to understand the problem, we have to look at what is the question. So let's look at our question. How much soil did they put in the garden bed all together? So I'm going to underline my question. How much soil did they put in the garden bed all together? Now, the other part of solving problems and understanding what the problem is what information do we know? We know that they have 2/3 of a cubic yard, that's going to be my units, and 1 and 5/6 cubic yards. So they are both in the same, have the same units, which is going to make the problem much easier. The second step in problem solving is going to be to plan. So what I need to do to plan is to think about how am I going to solve this. Sometimes I look for clue words. When we say all together, that means addition. So my plan is going to be to add these numbers together. Now, the third step of problem solving is to actually solve it. So I am going to do 2/3 plus 1 and 5/6. Now, of course, I have to get a common denominator. So so I'm going to use 6 as a common denominator. And I'm going to make this one into an improper fraction. So this will become, I multiply this by 2/2, and I get 4/6 plus, and to get a common denominator, 6 times 1 plus 5, 11/6. And that's going to give me 15/6. And if I were to simplify that, I'm running out of space, but that will be 6 goes into 15 twice with 3 left over. So I get 2 and 3/6, which reduces to 2 and 1/2. Now, one thing I'm going to have to put on there is cubic yards. So my units are yards cubed. Okay, now I'm not through. I have an answer, but I have to check. Did I answer the question? Sometimes you have to find out an intermediate question before you get to the end question. This question asked, how much soil did they put into the garden bed altogether? Well, I've answered that question. I put together the two amounts that they put in, and now I have the total amount. So yes, I have answered the question. Now I have to think, does it make sense? Sometimes you can do this by checking if you were doing an algebra problem, but you also think about what would be a reasonable answer for this. So let's think. This 1 and 5/6 is almost 2, and 2/3 is not quite 1. So if I have almost 2 and not quite 1, I put those together, I should have less than 3. And my answer is 2.5, which is less than 3. And so my answer is reasonable and it makes sense.